EmpowerHER Orange the World is a student-led 16-day initiative working to raise awareness about gender-based violence amongst Kanpur's youth. Ms. Preeti Agarwal, our school director, has been a constant source of guidance and support for EmpowerHER. I am the founder.
Arohi Shukla and Akash Agarwal are the event directors.
We created EmpowerHER to transform awareness into action.
Our student team at BIS has supported us throughout to make the event a success.
Conducting competitions like poster making, quizzes, arts, legal debates, and information sessions, we aim to build empathy and civic awareness among students. Without further ado, let's start today's session. For the fifth edition of Voices of Kanpur, we are honored to host Professor Jonaki Sen, one of Kanpur's most distinguished scientists and a leading voice in developmental neurobiology. Professor Sen is a faculty member and in the Department of Biological Sciences and Bioengineering at IIT Kanpur.
In human biology and masters in biotechnology from AIIMS in Delhi. Earned her PhD from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York and continued her postdoctoral research at Harvard Medical School in the genetics department under Professor Constance Sepko.
Since joining IIT Kanpur in 2006, she has built a pioneering research program that investigates how the nervous system forms and patterns itself during development, using chick and mice embryos to understand how a single early brain structure develops into two cerebral hemispheres. Her work offers crucial insights into disorders such as holoprosencephaly and other neurodevelopmental diseases, with a long term vision of contributing to better diagnosis and therapeutic strategies.
She is a scientist who brings global training, deep curiosity, and a commitment to shaping the next generation of researchers. Let's dive into her insights with an interview that explores how science and research can uncover quiet, gentle gender inequality, and how, through awareness, education, and evidence based understanding, we can build a society where every girl and woman is supported.
Our very first question is, what drew you to science and who helped shape that decision? And why did you choose neurobiology specifically?
First of all, I would like to thank you, Ananya Bajpai, for inviting me and all your team members for actually organizing this very important and very relevant session that you are Empower Her Orange the World that you're organizing. I am really grateful that you're doing this, and I would really like to see more of this happening in our society. So to answer your question, what drew me to science and what drew me specifically to neurobiology? When I was your age or even younger than that, my parents always encouraged me to, follow my curiosity. So from the very beginning, I was exposed to a lot of books that were in the field of biology or natural sciences. So there was this series of books called Time Life series of books, which had a lot of interesting topics. There were things on evolution, ecology, and there was also like different continents were described with their flora and fauna, and there were like beautiful pictures about marine life and all of that. And that interested me a lot because when I was growing up, there was no television. So you have to appreciate that all I had was this world of books. And through that, I grew interested in natural sciences. And then when science became divided into, physics, chemistry, and biology, I kind of was drawn to biology because of it dealt with living systems. That's what interested me. The plants and animals around me were very interesting, and I wanted to know more about them. So naturally, biology, I was attracted to it. And in school, I had great biology teachers. And I must say that they are my source of, inspiration to get into science. Although I did not know any scientists when I was growing up, my father was not a scientist. He was an engineer and he was from IIT Kanpur. At that time, there was only one IIT, and he was an electrical engineer. My mother is a geography teacher, but she had an interest in natural sciences. And so I think I got inspired by her as well. So my teachers, both in middle school and high school, and also my parents have contributed to my interest in this. And neurobiology, that I kind of wandered into. So when I went for my PhD to Albert Einstein College of Medicine, I was working in an area that is called developmental biology. So I use this model organism, which is called fruit fly. So a lot of studies have been done on the fruit fly because it is easy to do genetic manipulations on that. You can grow them in large numbers, and you can manipulate genes and look at the effects. And there was a pioneering work that was done in I would say 1980s by a scientist who was a Nobel laureate, Nuslin Volhard. She actually used the power of genetics in the fly to figure out how the embryo develops. Okay, so I went and landed up in the lab of my professor David Stein. He was a protege of Nuslin Volhard. So he has done his postdoc under her. And he was interested in understanding very fundamental questions like how do you get your back different from your front? Put it very simply, why does your back look like your back and your front look like your front? Like your belly button is different from your back, right? So we were asking this very fundamental question in the fruit fly. So the fruit fly also, if you look at it, you can see the back is different from the front, right? But when it's an embryo, it looks quite symmetrical. It looks like an elliptical shaped structure like this. And there also, you can actually see some differences in the back and the front. So we were curious to understand what genes are involved in defining this body axis. How do you get your head where it is or your tail where it is? And how do you get your back different from your front? So I found this one gene called pipe, which was expressed in the belly button side. And then if you removed it, then both the sides became like the back. So it became like a double backed embryo. So that was a very interesting thing. And we figured out how it does it at the molecular level. That was my PhD. So to where was I linked to neuroscience at any level? Then I started to look for, interesting labs to go for my postdoc. And then I found that there was one lab where I got an opportunity to work, and that was Professor Constance Sepko. And she was working on the eye, the retina, very specifically. And hers was also a developmental biology lab. So I've always been interested in development. That is the underlying theme. But the context has changed from the early embryo in the fly to the retina in my postdoc. And in my own lab, it became the brain. So because the retina is connected to the brain and it actually develops from it, so it's a simpler version of the brain. There are only 7 different cell types there. Okay. So if you understand how those 7 different cell types form, then you can apply those basic things to the brain, which is much more complex. So now I have gotten into the brain, and now I'm trying to understand how our brain gets its shape, how do neurons form, how do they go and connect, and how do they function in the adult. That's been my journey into neurobiology. Okay.
Wow, that's amazing, ma'am. So, from your perspective as a scientist, where do you see gender inequality showing up most clearly in everyday life?
I think gender equality is there, maybe not overtly everywhere, but it is there subtly in many places. I mean, I'm not saying that only in India, it's there in other countries as well. Okay. So since I have been to several different countries and I've lived for 12 years in the US, but I myself have not experienced any gender inequality myself. I have not, observed it in my surroundings, but I have heard of it from other people and from other people's experiences. I have seen that. So I think it begins at home. And in India in particular, it is there because we have this social structure where the gender specific roles are very defined. And our society is such that There are some guidelines laid down that women can do certain things and men can do certain things. So there is this gender stereotypes that are there, and that is what is ingrained. I mean, I wouldn't say it is ingrained into our DNA, but it is very close to that. So we are, from the very beginning, we are told that yes, if you are a woman, you are supposed to know how to cook. You're supposed to be caring, and you are supposed to take care of the family. And if you want to do anything else, that is on top of doing this. It is never that you can do the other things and not do this. So your fundamental role is to be the in charge of the family and take care of the family. And after that, you want to do something else. That is your extra role. And you don't get any credit for actually taking care of your family. So this attitude that is there, it is all pervasive. It is not, and it's not going to go away very soon, as what I'm saying. Although it is changing, a lot of things have changed from the time that I was growing up to even now, and every day there are some changes happening, but it's still widespread, I would say. And as in science also, the same thing is applicable. So people think that women are less capable of doing research or taking up subjects, the STEM subjects, because they are actually, their brains are different or they are not wired for this. But actually there is no biological basis for that. So there is no biological reason why women should be any less capable of becoming a scientist or an engineer or whatever.
Could you elaborate on that topic, that the society has been set up that way, but from a biological perspective, is any gender difference even real, or is it all just social conditioning?
I believe that biologically there are some differences. Of course, you cannot ignore that there are no differences between the two genders. Of course, there are differences because of the differences in our genetic makeup, because we have two X chromosomes and men have a Y chromosome, and also that our physiologies are different, and biologically there are different roles that we play. So in the sense that reproduction, the babies are only born from females. You cannot have the males create new life. So that is one thing that is there. And physically, strength wise also, I would say that there is an inherent difference. And at the brain level also, people have observed differences in the brain between women and men. But none of that means that any one individual is not capable of doing any following any one profession. There can be always exceptions. There are men who are more, who are better at cooking, let's say, or who are very good with, interior decoration, or who are very good with fashion, which people typically think are women uh, gendered professions. Similarly, there will be many women who are capable of, being the best mechanical engineer, or driving a train, or flying an aeroplane, or doing anything like that. So I don't think there is an inherent biological difference between men and women which make them suitable for a particular profession. I think it is at the individual level one should be judged whether one is capable of doing something or not, and what is your passion. That is what should, the person should be able to decide that without any bias. So that's what I think is the difference. There is no biological difference profession wise that one person is not capable of, one gender is not capable of doing this, or not made for, or not suitable for doing this. That is not there.
Have you noticed differences in how young girls and boys are encouraged to explore curiosity, science, or problem solving?
Yes, I have noticed that. So I don't think that in our society, even now, I would say things have changed a lot, and there is much more awareness, and people are slowly giving up their attitude of that girls are not suitable for following STEM subjects. But I think the still more needs to be done. And even now, I think girls are not, at the level of the families, there is more, of a barrier. I think schools have started encouraging the children to take up the subjects, whatever is their passion, and to follow them. But at home, I don't think that has still gone away. So, kind of for girls, it is said that, okay, even if you become an engineer or a doctor, I still see a bias in, mechanical engineering, not so many girls. Electrical engineering, not so many girls. Computer science, yes, because that is more like a desk job. So people think that anything that involves, lifting heavy machinery or going into the field and doing something, there is a bias in the minds of both parents as well as maybe teachers as well, that the women are not suitable for doing that job. But I think that should be left to the individual. With given enough training, any person can develop those skills, and not necessarily if you're born a boy that you will be able to lift anything and everything. That's not true. So I think that is still there. The bias is there at a low level, and it's slowly changing. And the more the women come into these professions and take up these jobs, it will be going down with time.
Yes, ma'am, that is very true. Could you suggest some practical ways on how families, parents, and communities in general encourage girls to enter those STEM fields with confidence?
That's a very difficult question that you've asked me, because although all of us are aware that it begins at home, it is very difficult to, ask parents to change their minds. And it can only come with education. So it begins with the mother. If the mother in the family is educated, then I think she will be more open to, encouraging her children, irrespective of their gender, to follow their dreams. I'm saying that it's not always true that, men are also not discriminated against. So they are also kind of forced into gender stereotypes, right? They are told that you can only do these professions and you cannot go into the other kind of professions, which are thought to be very feminine, right? So bias works in both ways, although the bias towards the women is much stronger, I would say. But for that, you have to spread awareness. I think the more awareness and education is spread, the more this will change. So the next generation of women who are educated like you should be able to change this. When you have your own kids, you will, of course, be able to encourage them. And the more people who get educated, more girls get educated, the opportunity to get educated is very important. So, whatever is said in terms of slogan, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, should not just remain as a slogan, it should actually be practiced. And the people who want to put this into practice should be you. You are the next generation. So, you have to put it into practice. You have to make sure that you, your friends, your surrounding, your neighbor, people who work at your home, people you see around who are not so privileged as you, they should be empowered. They should be made aware that they should get educated. They should, lift up from their strata of society. So when this will happen, in general, things will improve. So whatever you are doing right now is a step in the right direction, because you are holding this session, you are trying to spread awareness in your little way, and this is what is important. So do whatever you can, in whatever way you can, within your sphere of influence, to spread the awareness. And if everyone follows that, then naturally, these things will go down with time.
That's truly eye opening, ma'am. So, for a student listening today, what is one habit, skill, or one value to start practicing this week?
So that's a very important question that everyone should actually ask. People usually look and say that what should I do to give myself a better career, or make myself established, or give satisfaction to myself. I think one should look beyond oneself and look into society. What have I contributed to society is the question that a person should ask, along with asking what interests me, what career should I follow. Of course, that is very important, because unless you establish yourself, you cannot actually influence other people. So you first look at whether you have discovered your passion. What is it that drives you? If you found that, then very good. Then you follow it with all heart and soul. But at the same time, don't increase your gaze to the world around you, and be sensitive to what the others around you are going through, and how can you make a difference in their lives. If everyone can think in this way, then we will evolve into a much better society than what we are right now, because we need to be selfless to a certain extent. If we just look at our own little narrow vision, then that is not going to happen. Everyone will be running after their own goals and not looking at the society in large. So at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you have to think, what have I done today for others? Have I done anything meaningful today for somebody else? It can be a small thing, it need not be a big thing. But if you make that into your practice every day, then naturally things will improve. You don't have to do anything special.
If anyone wants to ask Dr. Jonaki ma'am a question, please raise your hand. Please unmute and ask the question.
That is.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My
Hello,
name is
Junaid.
Junaid. Ma'am, how
Hello.
far do you agree on the statement like often girls are being said that you should like they should not work out or go to gym or else their body will be like male. So how far do you agree with that statement?
I absolutely don't agree with that. I think working out is necessary for all of us because of our lifestyle. Our current lifestyle is very unhealthy, because we sit and do work on the desktop or the laptop most of the time. And that's something that should not be the case. Previously, both genders used to do a lot of physical activity naturally. People would walk to places, people would do physical things, like even cleaning up your home involves a lot of physical activity. So people not doing that nowadays. So going to the gym should be a regular affair for everyone, and not necessarily that if you go to the gym your structure is going to change. There are minimum amount of exercise is necessary, and if you want to develop muscles, then that's also fine. I don't see a problem with that. That's not going to affect your physiology. Yeah, that should be okay, completely okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for
Okay,
the
thank you, ma'am.
answer. Okay, with that, to conclude, ma'am, we sincerely thank you for your time and for the depth of insight you shared with us today. Your guidance has enriched our program, and we are very honored to have hosted you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I really appreciated the questions you asked. They were very important, I think, for people to look into from different perspectives. And I'm sure that you will continue to interview other relevant members of society who will also give you their insights into this. And wish you all the best with your program. And I know it's going to be a very good success. Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.